I stared at my phone, rereading the text for the 10th time, hoping I'd somehow misread it. Honey, we think it's better if you don't come home for Christmas this year. You know Claire's cat is allergic to you. Allergic? To me? My throat tightened as I stood in my kitchen, the half-packed suitcase sitting by the door. For a second, it felt like the world tilted, like Christmas, the one thing that always made me feel like part of this family, had been stolen from me. My parents had chosen my sister's cat over me. I dropped my phone on the counter and gripped the edge to steady myself. If they thought I'd just disappear quietly, they were wrong. This Christmas, they'd remember exactly who I am. What would you do if your parents told you not to come home for Christmas because of a cat? Would you forgive them? Or make them regret it? Tell me in the comments below. Christmas had always been my favorite time of year. I work as a pediatric nurse, so the holiday season is the one time I can count on a few days off to just breathe, bake cookies, and feel like a kid again. Every year, I'd make the 5-hour drive back to my parents' house in Vermont, where the fire was always lit, the trees smelled like fresh pine, and Mom would fuss over me like I was still 10 years old. My parents, Nancy and Paul, had always been traditional, family first, no excuses. And my younger sister, Claire, well, she was the golden child. Always got away with everything. I never minded, not really, because I loved her. This year was supposed to be special. I had taken extra shifts so I could leave early, bought thoughtful gifts for everyone, and even baked Grandma's famous cranberry bread to bring along. Then, 3 days before Christmas, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Mom, short, cold, and final. Honey, Claire's new cat, Pumpkin, has severe allergies. We can't risk you coming home. The cat might react to your dander. I sat there in shock, reading it over and over. My parents weren't just canceling a holiday. They were canceling me. I called Mom immediately, hoping there was some misunderstanding, but she just sighed and said, "Sweetheart, it's only fair to think of Claire and Pumpkin this year." Fair? I'd given up so much to be there. And now, I was the problem? I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every Christmas memory I could think of. The matching pajamas, the caroling, the way Dad used to read. 'Twas the night before Christmas by the fire. All of it felt like a cruel joke now. By morning, my sadness turned into a lump in my throat that wouldn't go away. I called Dad, hoping he'd talk some sense into Mom. But instead of siding with me, he chuckled awkwardly and said, "You know how sensitive that cat is. Let's just avoid drama this year." Drama. That's what they thought I was, drama. I suggested renting a nearby cabin, staying in a hotel, even wearing a mask if I had to. Each idea was shot down. "It's just 1 year," Mom said gently. "You'll be fine." But I wasn't fine. I felt humiliated, disposable. Like my family had put me on a shelf, to be taken down when convenient, as long as I didn't inconvenience Claire's precious Pumpkin. My friends tried to comfort me, suggesting I spend Christmas with them instead, but it wasn't about just missing a holiday. It was about being chosen last, behind a cat. The more I thought about it, the more anger simmered under my skin. I had always been the dependable one, the one who remembered birthdays, drove through snowstorms just to be home, and never asked for anything in return. This wasn't about allergies. This was about Claire getting whatever she wanted, again, and my parents bending over backward to keep her happy, no matter how unfair it was to me. And that's when something inside me shifted. If they wanted to treat me like an afterthought, I was going to show them exactly what being left out felt like, in a way they'd never forget. Over the next few days, I stopped begging. I stopped explaining. I stopped trying to convince them that I deserved to be there. Instead, I got very, very quiet. I deleted the half-packed suitcase from my hallway and put the cranberry bread in the freezer. I smiled when Mom texted me, "Merry Christmas Eve," and pretended everything was fine. But inside, a plan was taking shape. Late at night, I sat with my laptop, searching, scrolling, ordering. I made calls I'd never thought I'd make. I reached out to a few people from back home who still owed me favors. Every click of the keyboard felt like taking back a little piece of power. By the time Christmas morning rolled around, I wasn't sad anymore. I wasn't even angry. I was ready. If my family wanted a quiet, cozy holiday with Claire and her cat, I was about to give them one they'd never forget. Christmas morning, while my parents and Claire were sipping cocoa by the fire, a little surprise arrived at their doorstep. A courier dropped off 3 large, beautifully wrapped boxes with tags that read, "To Nancy, Paul, and Claire from your favorite Allergen." Inside each box was a perfectly wrapped gift, but not the gifts I had originally bought. For Mom, a deluxe cat hair grooming kit, complete with a note that read, "Since Pumpkin is the priority, I figured you'd need this more than me." For Dad, a book titled How to Set Boundaries with Toxic Family Members. And for Claire? Oh, hers was the best. A huge, glitter-filled card that popped open with the words, "Merry Christmas from the sister who isn't welcome." Inside was a printed photo montage of every Christmas we'd ever spent together. Me smiling next to the tree, me holding Claire's first stocking with a caption, "Hope Pumpkin enjoys taking my place." I wasn't there to see it, but one of my hometown friends texted me later, saying Claire had stormed out crying, Mom was red-faced, and Dad just sat there looking guilty. And me? I was 2 states away, sipping champagne with my best friend's family, wearing my Christmas pajamas, and laughing for the first time all week. It wasn't about ruining their day. It was about reminding them I wasn't someone they could erase. That morning, I finally felt the weight lift. When the laughter died down and the champagne glasses were empty, I sat quietly by the window, watching the snow fall. For the first time in years, I wasn't in my childhood home on Christmas. I wasn't sitting by the fire or pretending everything was perfect. And strangely enough, I felt lighter. It hit me that this wasn't really about a cat. It was about a pattern. My parents had always put Claire first, always expected me to be the flexible one, the understanding one. And I had played along for years because it was easier to stay quiet than to make waves. But this time, they went too far. This time, they didn't just hurt my feelings, they made me feel like I didn't matter. And that's when I realized, sometimes revenge isn't about getting even. It's about standing up for yourself and saying, I deserve better. My gifts weren't meant to destroy Christmas. They were meant to hold up a mirror and make them see what they had done. Whether they'd admit it or not, I knew they got the message. For me, that was enough. The days after Christmas felt different, calmer, quieter. I didn't check my phone every 5 minutes waiting for an apology that might never come. I stopped scrolling through old photos of Christmas past. Instead, I started thinking about what I wanted my holidays to look like from now on. New Year's Eve, I invited a few coworkers and neighbors over for dinner. We cooked, laughed, and toasted to starting fresh. For the first time, I didn't feel like I was missing out on something happening somewhere else. I was right where I needed to be. Mom eventually called me a week later, her voice softer than usual. She said they didn't realize how hurtful it sounded, and that they wanted me home next year. I didn't say yes or no. I just told her we'd see. And that felt good, having the choice, setting the boundary. Now every time I see the cranberry bread in my freezer, I smile. I'll bake it one day soon, maybe for people who truly want me around, not just when it's convenient. I didn't just take back Christmas. I took back my place in my own life. Sometimes you have to lose your place at the table to find where you truly belong. This Christmas taught me that my value isn't up for debate, not even with the people who raised me. I don't need their approval to feel loved, and I certainly don't need to beg for a seat in a house that made me feel unwanted. Revenge wasn't about hurting them, it was about finding myself again. And honestly, that was the best gift I could have given myself. What about you? Have you ever been left out by your own family? Tell me in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe.